I will continue to read NESARA Book 1 from pages 39 through 62, and I'm going to start. Prosperity programs in NESARA. Since the beginning of our known recorded history, humans have used barter and exchange in society. Since the earliest days of time, people have used items of value as a barter tool for goods and services. The exchange system as one method of the enslavement of man. Take, for example, the study of Jesus driving the money changers out of the temple. The money changers require worshippers to exchange their gifts of spices, wares, and precious metals, etc., into a specific form of currency, the temple tax for a fee. Over the ages, the money changers have been hard at work controlling the barter or currency system that we know today as money. The money changers have been working most diligently at perfecting the money changer concept. Today, we know it as fractional reserve banking. To put it simply, based on a $1,000 value of gold, they issue $10,000 or more paper dollars or pounds from a ratio of 10 or even much more to 1. The money changers charge the issuing government interest on every dollar or pound printed or created by effortless keystrokes on a computer. The current monetary system is the money changers on steroids. Predators are the Bank of England and the Federal Reserve. These institutions are controlled not by the government, but by individuals or the money changers themselves. You are encouraged to learn more about this system of enslavement in order to prevent it from happening again. Part of the plan, the forces of redemption, is to break up this monopoly game of control. This is happening before your very eyes. The financial tsunami you are witnessing is the money changers' enslavement system collapsing under its own weight. The system has become so corrupt, it is unable to withstand the light of day. Basel II and Basel III banking protocols are being instituted, which force the banks and financial institutions to open their crook books to the light. The result is what you can read about in your news sources today: total bank failure. This is part of a grand design to release humanity from the stranglehold of a corrupt financial system designed to maintain total control. Just ponder for a moment on how money in the current form of barter affects every aspect of your life. These are many elements to the plan. One of those elements is NESARA and the prosperity programs. The Monetary Trust Fund of Saint Germain was established in the 18th century. This trust fund was based upon precious metals and minerals, gold, silver, diamonds, etc., because the funds were based upon these constant items of value. They were immune to the control of currency systems of the money changers of the day. The values of gold and precious metals have only increased and recently have begun to skyrocket. Look at the value of gold against the currency systems. There are also massive reserves of precious metals and minerals hidden away from the money changers in our Mother Earth. NESARA is the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. The NESARA Act is actually part of the Golden Plan. It is designed to dismantle the United States financial system that controls the de facto standard currency of the whole world. When NESARA is announced and implemented, the prosperity programs, farm claims, and other trusts will also be released. The recipients include individuals and governments. Most of the recipients are unknown as a form of protection from the elite. The overall plan has been kept secret, as you will learn in your own research. This has been and continues to be a strategic element of the plan. The money changers have been hard at work in preventing the enactment of the plan. As you will learn, when the funds are distributed, some of the recipients will be required to disperse a certain percentage of their funds to others. They will be required to locate suitable persons that are willing to use the funds for the love in mankind. Eventually, every man, woman, and child on earth will benefit from these programs. The idea is to flood the world which with so much prosperity that the pursuit of happiness will become the only goal for all mankind. Governments and individuals will no longer be able to use currency to control humanity. Right now, patriot workers are being encouraged to become involved and use their gifts to facilitate this republic plan. We are being encouraged to use the love and light within us to come up with personal and government projects to ensure the use of funds for the good of all mankind. You are being asked you are being asked to conceive of projects that you feel are worthy pursuits to help and educate all the people of the mankind, to help to restore the beauty and magnificence of the world. If you had unlimited resources, what would you do? You have been prepared for this mission, and now is the time to get busy and make it happen. You are encouraged to ask for guidance. Use your personal interests and skills to develop projects to help bring all of mankind into the light. We have been told over and over that God is not going to do this for us. There is not going to be a magical solution to all of the world's problems. We are the warriors of light and love. Now is the time to get to work. Think about it. How did you think we were going to make a difference? This is about one part of the overall plan. The elements of love and lights are with you, encouraging you every step of the way. Listen to your heart and it will guide you upon your path. You will instinctively know what to do at the right time. The collapse of the dark cabal is intimate. Your time is really shine has come. NESARA now. We need NESARA now to stop the unlawful corporate U.S. government from starting World War III. NESARA ends the unconstitutionality of the Federal Reserve banking system. NESARA stands for National Economic Security and Reformation Act. The beginnings of this new law took place in the early 1990s when banks began to illegally foreclose on framers' homes. The Live Aid concerts was one of the fundraisers to help these farmers. The farmers got together, and when they realized what was going on, they started a lawsuit against the government. In retaliation, the government sent the IRS against the lawyers. As a result, the lawyers request the assistance of military generals. These generals would then sit in the courtrooms to make sure the bribed judges would rule in favor of constitutional law. It is determined in these cases that not only were the banks illegally foreclosing on mortgages, but the money itself was worthless. The dollar has no precious metals supporting it because the Constitution states that only gold and silver can be accepted forms of coinage slash currency. These judges ruled the Federal Reserve banking system to be illegal and to be abolished. These trials went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Years passed, and the generals realized the government had no intentions to abolish the Fed. As a result, the order was given to surround Congress and force members to sign NESARA into law under gunpoint. This happened on March 9th, 2000. Then, under the gunpoint of the elite Naval SEALs and the Delta Force, on December 10th, 2000, Bill Clinton signed this act into law. This was necessary because the Illuminati are in full control of our government. Also, the Clintons were never lawfully elected. Ross Perot was lawfully elected to be our president at that time. NESARA requires all members of Congress and the president to resign and new elections to take place. It disbands the Federal Reserve Bank and replaces it with currency of the U.S. Treasury backed by precious metals. All debt will be zeroed out to make way for the new currency. The IRS will be replaced with a national sales tax. NESARA releases all suppressed technologies such as free energy devices, which can clean up all pollution and cure all diseases, even old age. It also begins refunds of stolen monies to be given out in forms of debit cards. Every American citizen over the age 21 will receive $1,000 a month for 11 years as compensation for all the evil perpetrated against them by the American federal empire. Folks, no microchipping will be required for this refund, unlike some would have you believe, according to a secret FBI, CIA, and NSA study. 1 out of the 10 Americans have already been chipped by the Greys. This research, known as the Roper Report, was sent to over 100,000 psychologists. Those involved with the Christian cult refuse to look at the fact that we are already chipped, many of whom include them. Now understand, the Fed is not a federal bank. It is privately owned bank controlled by the most wealthy families of the world. These people are like leeches, sucking off the lifeblood of the world's poor. They include 300 of the world's wealthiest banking families, such as the Windsors, Lazar brothers, Rothschilds, and Rockefellers. Even the Bush family has a price. Even the Bush family has a piece of the pie. They own the Carlyle Group, which is worth $370 trillion. All money paid into the IRS is deposited into the Fed and distributed to them. 63% to the Crown of England and various banking families, 27% to the world's 300 most wealthiest Illuminati families, and 10% to the employees of the IRS. The Crown is a 1 square mile country located in the central part of London, owned by the House of Windsor, the British monarchy. NESARA will pay them off so they will give up their monopolies. All money paid into the IRS has gone to the Federal Reserve Bank since 1913. It is estimated that the Fed has stolen over $500 trillion, less interest and inflation over this period of time. None of this money has financed the U.S. government as we know it today. Money is raised via the CAFR from the comprehensive annual financial reports, CIA, drug trafficking, and arms trafficking as well. The constitutional government that we believe in is no more. It was bankrupt in 1933. That's what the New Deal was all about. In 1933, the constitutional government was dismantled, and the Zionist New World Order government was formed as a new corporation called the United States of America. Its property include all lands, property, and even we are the people. They are using us as their chattel. This is why we have social security numbers and why the government can deduct money from our wages from the IRS. Today, this shadow government is running the show, using its easy money to finance secret black ops involving ETs and much more. The amount of wealth the Illuminati have stolen is so astonishingly huge that it's incomprehensible to the average man. The world's total GDP is estimated to be about $30 trillion annually. However, the total wealth of the Illuminati is in excess of 10 of quadrillion dollars. But even so, they are not the wealthiest group on the planet. The wealthiest person is Saint Germain. His trust fund was set over 280 years ago in 1729. These funds were meant to be released in the year 2000 for benevolent purposes. Today, that fund is worth 1 quadrillion or dollars. That's enough money to buy a gold cube the size of the orbit of Saturn. So, astronomical, the average person will not be able to believe it. His secret money making techniques shall remain secret for now. However, there is no secret on how the Illuminati have made their money. Their methods include ripping of third world nations via the International Monetary Fund, fractional reserve banking, fiat currency, drug trafficking, oil, backward engineered UFO technology for sale, and the public sector, arms trafficking, prostitution. Much of the funding for NESARA began 100 years ago. The children of robber barons began to put aside some of their family's money into secret trust funds. This money being this money along with the Saint Germain Trust was meant to be released into the world to make right some of the wrongs of their parents. This money will be used to buy out all oil companies, energy conglomerates, banks, pharmaceutical cartels, and zero out all debt. NESARA literally ushers in the golden age of humanity. The horror media refuses to publish this knowledge because of the Supreme Court placed gag order on any media or government personnel with the threat of death if they talk. This is why Alex Jones and Wikipedia would not discuss this information. In addition, and Reuters have been bought off by the Rothschild family since 1901. 85% of all news networks are owned by only 5 corporations. Do you really think Rupert Murdoch is going to tell you the truth? We live in a Orwellian state. Wake up. NESARA was planned to be announced on September 11, 2001 at 10 a.m. Just before the announcement, Bush Sr. ordered the destruction of the World Trade Center to block 2 distribution of the NESARA refunds and killed the pro-NESARA military supporters located in the White Knights HQ of the Pentagon. This effectively destroyed the first attempt to bring this country back to constitutional law. Bush Jr., our then president, was just a puppet. He was so cloned and chipped. He probably had no clue what's really going on at the time. The destruction of 9/11 served to start an unjust war with Afghanistan and Iraq. This war was necessary because since 1980s, OPEC has effectively forced the world to trade for all barrels of oil and Federal Reserve notes. This means that our money is backed by oil. This is why no free energy technologies will be released until the Federal Reserve Bank is abolished. Our money supply is ticking time bomb, waiting to be set off. The Illuminati neared this war to force rouge nations to continue using worthless Federal Reserve notes. Saddam was trading oil for euros, and Afghanistan refused to let Halliburton build a pipeline across its land to the Caspian Sea at the price Halliburton wanted. Enron's Ken Lay was murdered because he threatened the Bush family about going public about these secret dealings. The Illuminati are using secret bank accounts in the Bahamas and Cayman Islands to prop up the stock market. Once the money stops flowing, expect a total meltdown unless NESARA happens. People who are anti-NESARA are like the same folks in the times of Noah, mockers and scoffers of truth. Did not the scriptures say, as it is in the days of Noah, so it will be in the last days? Also, even the very elect would be deceived. The elect are not those phony unelected officials who run the government, nor are they those who are involved with the Christian cult. The elect are the 144,000 who have came back to return this planet back to the light. People like those who run, and the website is www.quatloos.com. CIA front and CIA agent Sherry Shriner will end up in the ash leap of history. So you know, so be it, James. Summation. NESARA will bring most of the world's people. NESARA will bring most of the world's people increase prosperity, liberty, peace, and more knowledge, which will enable them to flourish. The compilation, this compilation is intended to act as a reference to what can be expected when the announcement is finally broadcast on radio and TV. Times will be different. We will be taking a quantum leap into a brave new world. There will be a complete restructuring of society and especially the business world. There will be those who cannot or will not accept the new conditions, and from a separate society that will not be long-lived. For the others, this is the beginning of the golden age, a time of peace, not war, when the lion shall lie down with the lamb. We were told that because of the long delay in implementing NESARA, post-NESARA activities would be greatly speeded up. The worldwide program should have already been in place. There have been delays in getting as much as, okay. There have been days in getting as many as possible of the dark forces to join the light before the announcement is made. But this, too, is just the beginning of the golden age. There is much more to come. What is being speeded up? One can only conjecture. One of the principal benefits to be implemented within 1 month after the implementation of the NESARA is the realignment of prices worldwide. So most likely that would be one benefit brought forward for implementation. One of the most amazing improvements that will roll out from NESARA and across the world is that all people will eventually have the same light that Americans have. When NESARA restores the American Constitution and the Bill of Rights to the law of the land, common law, rather than statute law. 180 countries have signed treaties to implement NESARA. There have been many prophecies of catastrophic earth changes about this current time. We are assured that times have changed, and this will not happen to the extent originality foreseen, because mankind has made great strides in spiritual advancement. Prophecy is always seen from the point of view of the time when the prophecy is made, but subsequent events can and often do. Also, these foreseen events This is not a failed prophecy. The nature of prophecy must be understood. The cost of living and other financial matters. In several months of the announcement, there will be a 90% reduction in all prices of all services and goods to counter inflation and bring us back to the pricing of the 50s. All countries involved have already made arrangements to implement that change. Industry-wide prices will then be tied to the price of gold. An equivalent reduction in salaries will not take place until a month or so after the repricing of goods and services. This will give employees 1 month or more of the bonus spending power. Remember, that cash in hand or at the bank is not devalued. That means that if you have $50,000 right now and wish to buy a new home costing $250,000, the new price of the home will be just 25,000. So instead of making a down payment, you could purchase an outright and still have 25,000 left over, as the value of money held right now is not devalued. There would also be no tax on the purchase. The same would apply to a new motor vehicle. A top of the line vehicle might cost $50,000 right now, but only $5,000 after repricing, leaving one enough left over to enjoy life in that paid in full vehicle. The merchant, however, might think that is just not feasible. I cannot afford to sell a vehicle for $5,000. When I paid the wholesale equivalent of $50,000 to put it into my showroom. Yes, you can. The merchant will not lose anything, whether your products is motor vehicles or groceries. At the time of repricing, you take inventory at the current price, deduct the inventory value of the new price, then the difference, which would appear to be a loss, is claimed back through Treasury. This is the assumed process, as no information has as yet been made public. Just 3% of the world's population currently controls 95% of the world's wealth, but NESARA will be a great leveler. The meek shall inherit the earth. NESARA will benefit the average person. Most of all wealth will be much money evenly disturbed. Are you ready for such responsibility? It may take a decade or complete elimination of poverty and hunger, and for a while, only new spacecraft will be available for the transportation and disbursement of food and other material to places where it is needed. Plans have already been made. There will be a substantial increase in the amount paid out as various pensions, disability alliances, social security payments, and family support payments. The standard of living for almost everyone will therefore be greatly improved. These payments will continue until replaced by amounts paid out as compensation for past government and bank fraud began. Anyone having to live at the survival level. The payments paid out as a compensation for past government and bank fraud are stated to be $75,000 monthly for 12 years, or until $10 million is reached. Advances on that sum might be made for special purposes. Tremendous wealth will also be created through the prosperity program as billions of dollars are distributed to individuals on gifting lists. In many cases, this will create a personal security problem as news of the sudden prosperity of one neighbor leaks out. One of the many suggestions as to how to handle this is quite simply to move, get out of the neighborhood and start your life afresh somewhere else. Keep the information to yourself if possible and also from relatives unless you relish them laying siege to your door. This sudden wealth will have a significant beneficial effect on the world economy. People have more money to spend and spend they will, particularly on a high price item. Having riches beyond compare does not necessarily mean having an easy life. It takes much thought, discipline, and responsibility of action. It takes much thought, okay. It takes much thought, discipline, and responsibility. Responsibility, irresponsibility already exists. It created by NESARA. It will be a continuation of test, but in a different vein. It is immeasurably better than servitude, which has been the faith of too many for too long. Acquiring great riches must be one of the most exacting tests we can undergo. Are you ready? In fact, that it is backed by precious metals will also increase the value of the dollar, which right now is a worthless piece of paper printed ad lib by the operators slash directors of the central bank. Some people, such as IRS employees, will find that their jobs no longer exist or their income is decreased by the announcement of NESARA. All people who can show that their income has been reduced by NESARA will be eligible to apply for generous financial allotments, which will carry them through until they have new income sources. But the delay in implementation has reduced some of the benefits. Getting price back to the level of the 50s is now highly unlikely. Manufacturers in most fields, knowing about the impending repricing, have significantly increased their retail prices as much as 50 through 100% or more in some cases. Food prices have also soared. And in Britain, for example, a townhouse which sold for 4,200 in 1964 sold for 6,200 in 1969 for 12,000 in the mid 70s and now sells for over $100,000. Business. With bank debt forgiveness comes also the elimination of the national debt, or at least 90% of it, a tremendous boon to most countries in the world. These countries will no longer be ruled by a foreign power, except for business producing non-essential goods for services. The income tax will be eliminated and the new sales tax, which will go to the government for the first time, will not apply, reducing time spent on this operation. Humanitarian and environmental projects will constitute the greatest benefits that NESARA brings to this world. The new era will bring about much of redeployment of labor forces. Some industries will close down and others rise up. There will also be new kinds of corporations which we can use after NESARA is announced. It will be easier to hold the people who make decisions for corporations accountable for their actions. After the announcement of NESARA, corporations will have a number of months to make the changes required. There will be public education. After the announcement of NESARA, corporations will have a number of months to make the changes required. There will be public education about the changes required and how the changes are to be made. Corporations will have plenty of time to make changes in all areas of commerce. Changes will come in, and the large conglomerates will be made into more easily managed units. New methods of production will be totally efficient without being wasteful, and pollution will become a thing in the past. Financial planners and everyone else will have to forget most of what they now know. Some well-known financial management experts have been educated about NESARA and are prepared to assist with the educational purposes after the announcement. Incorporation. Businesses will operate from a service charter rather than a business charter to provide services and produce goods. There will be no requirement to obtain permission from the state to operate a business. Nonprofit corporations, as such, will disappear. They exist only for tax purposes and government control, neither of which will continue. Requirements will be more like a certificate stating the purpose, the social and financial responsibilities through a guiding, not controlling body. There will be no charities as such for the same reason. More information will be made available after the NESARA announcement and the return to common law. Banks will be quite different to all other operations. There will be no more shareholders. The banking system is a distant part of the divine plan for earth and this place and time as a social facilitator device, and will not be allowed to return to being a medium of control. Price changes. To defeat inflation, prices will be reduced 90% about 3 to 9 months after the announcement of NESARA. After, say, 30 days, wages and salaries will likewise be reduced. This gives employees several months with extremely low prices before a balance is again struck. When NESARA is announced, the fact that the new U.S. Treasury currency is backed by precious metals will have an impact of international trade. Companies in other countries which sell products to the U.S. will need to adjust their billing records for the products that have been sold to be distributed through the U.S. locations. After NESARA announcement, the U.S. economy will be based on a new U.S. Treasury currency. However, companies such as Toyota and Honda, which make their products in other countries and distribute the products in the U.S., have contracted to sell their cars to U.S. companies for specific prices that are based on the U.S. Federal Reserve currency, which is not backed by precious metals. Other major currencies which are supposed to announce their own new banking within days after NESARA is announced. The European Central Bank is supposed to the Japanese banking system to announce the Japanese yen is backed by precious metals. Within 1 week of NESARA's announcement, there are some other countries which will announce that their currencies also have backed by precious metals soon after NESARA's announcement. The currency market, stock markets, and commodity markets will be closed immediately for several days after NESARA is announced. Many of the fundamental economic principles of our world economy will change after officials and broadcast by television and radio and cover in newspapers, which will inform us of new economic principles based on the fact that major banking systems and currencies are backed by precious metals. Greenspan complied 30 hours of videotape education, which will be broadcast to help us understand our world's new economic principles. In these ways, NESARA announcement starts a ripple effect around the world. It's important that these other countries announce their improved banking and currency systems very soon after NESARA's announcement as part of keeping the world economy stable. The stock markets will cease business and monies will be refunded. No more gambling. Did you think they actually serve a useful purpose? Business opportunities. NESARA will present the most dramatic change in business and manufacturing opportunities worldwide that the world has ever seen, even greater than the Industrial Revolution. There will be no longer be any demand for many service and products, initially causing unemployment, but this will be more than compensated for by the new opportunities presented and the increase in demand of existing natural products. One example will be the replacement of noisy, polluting commercial jet aircraft by silent, pollution-free shuttlecraft, flying saucers, and small spaceports, replacing today's airports with their runways taking up miles of what could otherwise be fertile land. Scrap merchants will have a heyday as the amount of scrap metal due to come on the market will be astronomical, not just from the military, but from many other sectors as well. Automotive manufacturers have already planned the mass introduction of electric vehicles. There will undoubtedly be many new manufacturers of conversion kits to eliminate fossil fuel usage. This will extend to almost all industries that use energy in one way or another. And of course, these utilities will be affected almost immediately. No more nuclear power plants, no more coal burning, polluting iron horses, or coal signs to museums. It opens up more opportunities than it eliminates through job losses in the soon to become extinct industries mentioned. Most people do not realize how much their world has been controlled by a select group who have now lost their power. This means to maintain your health, you are no longer required to use pharmaceutical drugs, but you, as well as hospitals and clinics, you will be able to use much less expensive and more effective natural remedies. Free energy will replace natural resources such as petroleum products, and the technology that has been suppressed for decades will spawn immense opportunities for factories producing all kinds of engines using cosmic energy, no more gas tanks. Such industries will require the distribution and ancillary services required by all industries. Will it happen overnight? Unlikely. But welcome to a completely new world. All fossil fuel vehicles will not be able to run, and replacement will be a matter of urgency. Those in a position to do so should start planning production now. Funds will be available. Here is now Abraham Lincoln summed it up. There will be an upheaval such as the continent has never been witnessed. People will be uprooted, businesses will businesses will crumble, empires will fall, and all for the good. Let the light shine on the good, and let fearful run and hide. And I will stop it right here. I will resume reading the NESARA 1 on another live stream. Thank you for joining my live stream. I gladly appreciate it. So I will close out the stream. Like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. Until next time, peace.